Hello, my name is Kesong Cao. This is a pre-recorded presentation for the 2020 meeting of the Society for Mathematical Psychology. In the next 15 minutes, I will discuss the project, How Does Modern Life Affect Memory Retrieval, analyzing news headlines. Before I dive into the contents, let me first thank my collaborators, Mohsen Afrasabi and Professor Joseph Otterwell. Our project is still ongoing, so your comments and suggestions are greatly appreciated. Our human memory are adapted to the environment. Anderson and Nielsen analyzed patterns of frequency, recency, and spacing of the items in human memory to show that human memory uses statistics from past experience to help optimize the information retrieval task it faces. Those collective experience then shapes the environment, which provides us useful statistics and sources that can reflect memory demands. So that is why we have this arrow here between human memory and the environment, which is bidirectional. Therefore, people can study the environment to better understand human memory. Anderson and Schuler studied a few environmental sources, namely three corpora, newspaper headlines of the New York Times, parental speech, and their personal emails. Following the above logic, changes of the environmental sources could also reflect changes in memory demands. And I believe many people have noticed that with advances in technology, our pace of life is getting faster and faster in our modern world. Note that this is based on intuition and not scientific evidence. This is the one aspect of what we are currently investigating. So the environment is changing. We can then ask, is human memory also changing? In our project, we picked New York Times data set to investigate this. Why New York Times? One reason is that it is a new US newspaper that has a wide readership, both nationally and internationally. We imagine that it should capture events people care about well. Also, New York Times has a history of over 150 years, and we imagine there will be good, consistent internal standards on the content it publishes. Plus, it's already been used in previous works over the text analysis. So it's good we have something that can add on there. The data we use is publicly available, directly provided by New York Times. So it's also high quality and very accessible. We want to know whether there are changes in New York Times headlines, and if yes, whether those changes reflect memory. So this is our big question mark. Now let's look at some previous work on New York Times. Basically, we want to focus on the Anderson and Schuler 1991 paper, as it studied patterns of frequency, recency, and spacing of words in New York Times in a 2 years range from 1986 to 1987. So here, each word occurrence is an indicator of real-life events happening, reflecting the memory demands according to content in the previous slides. On frequency, those words with higher frequency, those words with on the left of the x-axis are shown to have higher probability recurring. And on recency, words that occurred more recently, as in left of the x-axis, also have higher probability recurring. Of course, there are many other work on tracking changes throughout time on all kinds of text corpora. I'll give two examples here. The first one is work by Blay and Lafferty, who applied correlated topic model, or CTM topic modeling, on the science articles from 1990 to 1999. This figure shows some of the topics. And another one is the piece by Lee, Hills, and Hertwig, who decomposed the word risk using latent Dirichlet allocation, or LDA topic modeling, and performed the content analysis using New York Times and Google Books Ngram corpora. For example, war var is the main category, and we can see in the heat map the smaller topics, 1 to 3, are very distinct across time, covering different wars in history. So to summarize what I covered so far, we have a hypothesized bidirectional relationship between human memory and the environment. An accelerating speed of news, for example, there are live updates on social media and on app notifications on our smartphones, and a great data set, New York Times headlines, as a good proxy to help us uncover potential changes in human memory. We really need to start understanding what are the dynamics of events as measured in New York Times headlines. So this is our main research question. Okay, now let me briefly talk about our methods. We got the data directly from New York Times here with complete info of articles from 1990 to 2019, over 100 years range. We then extracted headlines and publication dates from the complete info. And after that, we did some NLP pre-processing to get individual words, storing their occurrences. Before working on the full data set, we first performed verification. Jumping back to the Emerson Schooler paper, we use their same data to draw the same figure. We can see that in our figures that they are very close to the original ones. We also confirmed with Professor Leo Schooler, the original author of that paper, that there is no qualitative large differences between our and their results. Now here, the y-axis of the original paper is odds. So what we have in our figure is probability. So that's causing the tail here. That looks a little bit different. Also, the spikes here in the recency plot is due to recurrent titles such as arbitrary and OPAT, something like that. And we will remove those in our later analysis. Once this is done, we began analyzing the whole New York Times data from 1990 to 2019. After the verification, we conducted two main tasks on the data so far. One is analyze frequency and recency of words. We performed linear regression on the probability of words recurring and recency with frequency and recency of previous occurrences. We then compared the linear regression parameters to analyze changes across time. Another task is storing the top words that have the most occurrences of each year and study changes of event or topic trends. Let me show you some results. We started by plotting different years of data in one plot. As in the upper figure, you can see x-axis here is the frequency or fractions of word occurrences before day n, and y-axis is the probability of that corresponding word occurring on the day m plus 1. You can see here y and x has a positive linear relationship. In the lower figure, we converted the x and y axis into log scale, and we can see here different curves also are very similar and close to each other. We are therefore thinking, though in general, news has not become faster over the years. This is true, as if we plot slopes of the normal scale figure, is fairly constant over the years. However, the slope of the log scale figure is increasing from about 1.03 in 1919 to 1.06 in 2019. This tells us that although news altogether is not becoming faster, faster news is becoming more faster. In other words, news with higher frequency has become even faster over the years. The recovery plot, the recency plot, also confirms this. Here, the x-axis is the lag interval, or number of days between the current day and its last occurrences. Y-axis is still probability of the same word um, appearing on the headlines of day n+1. As you can see, Y has an exponential negative relationship between X. And those on the left of the x-axis are the words that occurs more recently, and they have a much higher probability of occurring on the next day. We can then transform the figure into log-log scale to get a simple linear function. It may not look obvious, but the slope of the log-log scale figure also increased over the years, from about -1 in 1990 to minus 0.9 in 2019. Together, the frequency and recency analysis tell us that news altogether is not faster, but faster news is much faster. In other words, news with higher frequency and recency has become faster over the years. That they have higher probability occurring in the future. He also looked into top words over the 100-year period. Please look at this example, the top words in 2018, appearing on New York Times headlines. We can sense that these words reflect major events of that year that ultimately reflect to memory demands. We draw a parallel coordinates plot to track rank changes of the top words. Of course, our project doesn't end here. We are interested in further exploring into the spacing effect and topic modeling. We want to compare a few memory models on the spacing effect. Basically, we are now fitting the models, including a Hawkes process, as a theoretically motivated possible identification. We hope in the future we can also analyze even more environmental sources on event occurrences, such as GitHub and Twitter activities and paper citations. As for our New York Times data, we also want to further perform a topic modeling analysis following Lee et al. 2020, as in slide 6. And that's it. Thank you for listening. The main result we have, as shown in previous slides, is that news with higher frequency and recency has become faster over the years. If you want to play with my data and figures, you can visit this link for Google Colab Python notebook. The URL is bit.ly/demo-nyt. Again, your feedbacks are greatly appreciated. At last, I would like to thank University of Wisconsin-Madison Letters and Science Honors Program for their generous funding on this project. My collaborators, Mosen and Joe, and myself will continue working on it and hopefully result in a senior thesis paper of mine by December 2020. Thank you.